I apologize, but you know, when somebody, you know, there is, that information is available.
You're live.
So.
Oh,
I
don't tell them
apologize.
that. Or put a caveat on the end of that, unless you.
I'm leaving the
Donuts.
donuts. You guys. Yeah, I'm leaving. I brought them for this meeting. So I'm gonna leave them for your meeting. Because I don't need them. I don't.
Fell on his face, not bringing in his donuts.
Really?
Okay, now do we have?
I don't need them. Good approach.
Take the chair. We're going to forego the pledge of allegiance as we did that 2 hours ago. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Robbins. Commissioner Rushton.
Present.
Commissioner Bailey. Here. Chairman Russell.
Here.
Commissioner Sotos Little.
Here.
Commissioner Alguier. Here. Commissioner Lautner.
Present? All present.
Purpose of this meeting is to hear a request from the sheriff on a boat purchase. We'll let him speak to that, but first, any commission comments? Okay, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having us. This is short notice. I apologize. We basically had 5 boats in our marine safety division, and we sold one last year. That was a boat that was just non-functional, it was an old 4 winds. We basically got rid of it. Leaves us with 4 boats, 2 Great Lakes boats. One is M1, which is Marine One, which is in Leland. One is M2, which is in Sutton's Bay. One is M3 that stays on a vehicle mobile for emergencies like we had the last 2 days. It's already hooked up, ready to go, and the commander takes it home with them. And one is M4. M4 is a 15-foot boat, and I'll provide you all with a copy of this. This was not in a packet, but I'll give it to you now. This boat is ridiculously small, so we actually got on it 2 mornings ago, just for size proportion of what you're looking at. You really can't get on it with 2 deputies in patrol, and we ideally would have 2 deputies many times while on patrol, just because of the you know, if one's operating the boat, the motor's running, you gotta pull someone out of the water or rescue or something, especially if there's waves. So it's a very, very small boat. It's a 15-footer. It's not very valuable for our fleet. And again, that's M4. M3 is the 17-foot whaler. And the 17-foot whaler is 31 years old. And the motor is ancient. It's an old Evinrude. It's called an E-Tech. And they have to run like wide open or they plug up. So it's pretty hard to putz around and talk to people about no wake and narrows and, you know, visit with people and stuff. Then it loads up and then it stalls. 4 times this year, it's been broken down. I think you just pulled it back today.
I did. Matter of fact, 2 hours after I wrote the memo that you all received, it broke down again. I took it down to Long Lake Marine and picked it up this afternoon just before the meeting.
Yeah, and we're the rescuers. And one day this summer, I believe it was on Glen Lake, it broke down. We had to be towed in by fishermen. It wasn't
That's correct.
Glen Lake. So anyway, he's 31 years old. There's a reality to all this. Okay, so I tasked the commander with talking around about things. How are we going to do this? What are we going to do? He found a boat that's in your packet. It's a 19-foot Boston Whaler Outrage. And found this boat. It's about an $85,000 boat before you put all the equipment on. This has a bunch of equipment on, including a chart plotter and some other type things that make it more valuable. It has a bimini top. It's basically for sale, Manitowoc, Wisconsin for $69,900. Commander kind of needled the guy a little bit. We got him down to 65, and then we need him a little more. We got him down to 63.5. So this is basically arguably at least an $85,000 boat. It's a 2019, so it's 3 model years old, but only has 21 hours on it. A very wealthy guy had it. It was stored inside at the facility. It's in excellent condition. The salespeople tell us it's just like a brand new boat. And again, it's got chart plotter and some other features on it, making it more valuable. So we've got them down to 63.5. We're sales tax exempt. So what we're asking the board to consider is, and we have to move fast on this. I asked, did you call today? Because we called Friday. He says, I can't hold it for you, but I'm not going to be there to sell it again on Monday. So this is Monday. We're hoping someone doesn't find this and buy it out from under us, because it saves the county somewhere around $20,000 to $25,000 on what's in essence a new boat. If we buy that boat, we would then want to sell the 15-footer, the mini boat, if you will. And with the money from the 15-footer, which should be at least $10,000, we think it could even be worth as much as 15. We would like to take, and if you follow my line of thinking, we're losing M4 and we're adding this to the fleet. If we lose M4, then we take that money and we buy the motor for M3, which is the 31-year-old boat. We have a Boston Whaler hull, which is an excellent hull. They last almost forever. And we'd have a brand new motor on it that we wouldn't have to be running back and forth and towing. So we would still end up with 4 boats, no increase the boat fleets. Again, we got rid of one last year, and we would still have 4 boats. But operationally, these are the 2 boats that are used on these inland lakes that are so important to us and we have to patrol. And can they be used on the Great Lakes and calm weather? Yes. That 15 is a no. 15 is basically this one we're on right here. It's kind of a dinghy you pull behind a sailboat or have like in the Northport Marina that puts around and take food or gas around. It's not suitable for rescue. So it's a pretty simple request. We'd like you to authorize us to purchase this for $63,500. And that after we did that, we would then put this up for sale, take the money and put it into a motor. And then we would make M3 serviceable and should have a good service life. And we don't care what the boats look like as long as they run well and they're safe. So that 31-year-old boat is still okay with us. We're not complaining about the hull. It's the motor that's bad.
Questions for the sheriff or the commander? Yep.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for the service that you provide to our community. I do have a couple questions for you. One is, why did you pick a Boston Whaler? What's the advantage of a Boston Whaler over, say, another boat? I'm kind of surprised at the cost of this particular boat. Even though it's considerably less than new, I'm surprised at the new price.
Yeah.
I mean, but my other concern is, what are your capabilities with this boat
Okay.
on the water?
Okay. So basically, instead of a 15-footer and a 17-footer, we would have a 17-footer and a 19-footer. With that whole design comes more capability. When I was a conservation officer, we had a lot of Boston Whalers. I had a 1968 Boston Whaler, had been remotored one time in '74, and I was all over the place with that boat. I saw Boston Whaler ads. They make boats for military as well. I saw an ad where they sawed one in half with a chainsaw out in the lake, and it didn't sink. The 2 halves were floating. And I saw another one where they took a military helicopter and they shot it full of holes with 50 caliber. I mean, the thing looked like Swiss cheese and it still floated. So Boston Whalers are built very well. They're very heavy duty. And just like our 17-footer that's 31 years old, it still operates great. I think it gives us a lot for our money.
So what you're saying, if we were to look at about a 4 winds, let's say, or a Regal, that size, and we cut it in half or shot holes in it, what you're telling us is it would sink.
I don't know.
It would.
I don't know if it does, but I can tell you industry standard wise, and having been in law enforcement so long, doing the Marine Patrol and all that, that's the standard boat that's used. They're kind of thought out, engineered. I mean, sometimes you pay for what you get. If there was another boat, there was a Nautistar boat last year that the Glen Lake Association, we talked with Trish and some other people. Glen Lake Association kept saying, we need to see you guys out here more. We need to see you out here more. We are trying to do that, but boats are breaking down. They're older. We are paying $3,500 a year just to store it at a storage facility there. And 10 years, it's over $30,000 just gone. They want to know if we could station a boat there. And they brought up the fact, what if they bought a boat, had a place, would we be able to use it patrol more? And the answer was clearly yes. It got out in the paper ahead of time and some people were upset and it didn't go through. So we are still dealing with older boats. As far as, would we do a complete boat testing? We haven't. I don't know that we have the resources to do it. We're certainly not going to cut a boat in half.
Yeah.
But
one, you're not gonna find a 4 winds or a Regal, they don't make anything close to this.
price wise, you mean?
I mean, just in general, I mean, this is
Well, that's what I was trying to determine.
This
Yeah.
is center council vote, you can work off of it.
Right, and it has a bimini too.
But
And-
that's what I'm asking.
Okay.
You know, what is it that you can do on the water with this
Right.
boat that might be different than like a Four Winds or a Regal?
Let me
How
kind
is it an advantage
Sure.
to you?
Let me kind of add on to what the sheriff had already shared with the council, is that I didn't look at just Boston Whalers. They're a good boat, they're a premium brand. I looked at anything that's a center console. Center console is important. It really is the only way we can effectively patrol. Most of the time, you're standing at the helm. So I opened up my search when I found this online to any center console boat. And then if I was to find another brand, I would certainly look and see whether it rated well or whether it did not. Quite frankly, there was nothing else out there. Boston Whaler has been in production a lot longer than the other brand boats that ranked well as far as, and I just did the search, best center console boats. And Boston Whaler was always amongst them. It wasn't by itself, but all those other brands that did well, much lower production for a lot shorter time, they just don't exist. And the price is no savings over what we're seeing with this. The average price for a center console boat, because that style of boat is popular amongst fishermen and sportsmen, is easily $85,000, even if it's not a Boston Whaler. The fact that it's a premium brand is all the better for us, but I didn't limit my search to that at all.
Well, thank you for that, because what I was trying to ensure is that you had the right kind of equipment that you need to do your job to serve our community, and that we were getting a value for the anticipated dollars that need to be spent on this.
And I can assure you, if I would have found another boat that was comparable to this at this price or lower, it's another option I would have presented to the sheriff. It just was not out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Lauder, and then Patricia Soto.
Okay, thank you. So what you're asking us today for $63,000, $63,500
Correct.
to buy a boat.
Mhm.
You want to sell a boat and you think you can get 15,000?
10 to 15, somewhere in that range.
15,
A motor, or what did say, something?
Yeah.
but you want to take the 10 to 15,000 and replace the motor to make a different boat usable.
Correct.
So what you're asking for us today is that we have to come up with $63,000 basically.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have that in our marine?
No,
fund?
no, we're actually out of money because of gas. We've been actually putting 2 deputies on a boat and either choosing Glen Lake or Lake Leelanau instead of having one on each in order to save gas money for the boats and gas money for the cars because gas is so high. We've actually been doubling up. So we're getting some complaints from Lake Association people that, hey, we're not seeing you guys out there. What's going on? So we're kind of at the end of our budget there.
So where is it suggested that we find these dollars paid for this? So
I believe Chet was talking about, is it contingency fund? Am I calling it the right thing? Hi, no, you're in here. Where would that money come from for a boat if we had to, like, emergency replacement of a boat?
it would probably be contingency.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's a lot of money. So we're at, of course, we're just now going into our budget process. So this is June, we're mid-budget.
What if we have a marine emergency?
Because Jen, you did this budget together, and I don't know if you know where we're at right now. Would you have an opinion on whether this should be pulled out of contingency, or is there another fund, or is there enough in our contingency, or? I know, because you did this budget. Can I see
Certainly,
that?
certainly. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to answer. He does have a little bit of money if he wants to in the motor pool. That was from the boat that we sold last fall. I believe it was $500 or $5,600 that could go towards this. You do have the option to use contingency. You also have your budget adjustment, and I believe Darcy's going to work with Jared on that. In the future, that all your wages have to be adjusted for 2022 because none of the union contracts were settled or your non-union wages. I recommended that, I believe, in either April, maybe March or April, that your general fund you can increase your tax revenue once you set your L 429, and that way you could use those funds to adjust into that boat purchase. And I believe that there's enough money in there when I reported to that Finance and Audit Committee to use those funds to purchase the boat. So you wouldn't be touching contingency right now. You could hold that off to the end of the year, and then you also then would use your revenues. And then we don't plan on the marine grant each year until it's awarded. So that money, that 30,000 is, as far as I prepared that budget for 22, is not amended. So there would be that grant that you were approved, I believe. That would be an amendment in the past that I would have done as well. So that I think is 30.
No, a little slower.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I know these numbers are so low. But you mentioned we'll be setting our taxable rate.
You are, yes, so you set your taxable rate in May, and that's what is on the roll in July. So the number that was budgeted.
Yes, okay,
You
so
can
I thought
increase.
you were suggesting we raise that up
Oh,
even
sorry.
more.
No,
And, okay,
no, we
have
always
a
do
raise.
in the past, we've
Okay.
done an estimate.
Okay, so
of
you
what
think
that
there'll be
revenue
more
will be.
dollars coming in than what we?
Yes, I believe if the recommendation was, I had that for you guys prepared at the Finance and Audit, but I know it covered the wages for
So
sure, plus
if,
there was extra.
So if I may, may I continue? So if we just approve this today, then Darcy, would you just pay for it now and bring us that budget adjustment later? Is that?
That would be something I would put Jerry on.
Or would we have to say where that's coming from today?
But you wouldn't necessarily have to. In the past, he does have under Marine Department, he does have a 970. That's where you put this money. So you would, right now, you could state that out of the Marine budget that you're going to expend it to purchase the boat. Because he's also, when he goes to sell, there's going to be a little bit of a trick of a trade there, money going into one fund to then come back and match that general fund. So I believe that Darcy and Jared will be able to move that money so that it really should almost look like a net result of only 30,000 when it's all said and done. As long as if the Marine, to my memory, I don't have my book in front of me, if that's at 0.
Yep. That will be my motion. When we get there. Yep.
Under the, that.
Let Melinda finish and then.
Oh, I'm done.
Patricia? And then we'll-
Okay. A couple of really quick questions. One, you were talking about 4 boats. Do you have
Yes.
4 currently?
We have 4 currently.
Okay, so you've got the 15-foot that you want to sell and get the motor, use it to buy a motor for.
17.
Which makes all the sense. Where do you use this 15-foot now?
We don't use it much.
I was gonna say, if I can, add, we really don't. The only times it's been used recently is when the 17-foot has been breaking down.
That's what I thought.
Because as you can see in the picture, and the picture doesn't even do it justice, trying to put 2 deputies, and I've got 2 deputies that are of that size, even though the sheriff and Sergeant Bosher pose for it. What it doesn't put in perspective is the narrowness of the boat, and you can't walk from the back of the boat to the front of the boat without tripping over the things in there.
There's nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
So we really don't use it. We try to avoid it at all possible, unless it's just calm water. The only place that boat can go is up the Leeland, or not the Leeland River, but the Cedar River.
So that's the 1 boat. Then you have a 17-foot. The other 2.
So then we have a 24-footer that Sutton's Bay Village is kind enough to let us keep there.
And the 4th one?
And the 4th one is the one in Leland that we use for Great Lakes, that pretty small. That's the 25-foot coastal.
So you've got 3 operational ones if the motor will replace next time.
Yes.
Right. But let me kind of add, just kind of listening. I don't want to assume that everybody here is a boater. Both the boat in Sutton's Bay and the boat in Leland are not trailerable boats. We trailer them at the beginning and the end of the season. They take a much larger vehicle. They're much heavier, larger boats. They are meant for open water. The 2 small boats that we currently maintain and we're hoping to just improve upon are the boats that we keep on trailers all the time that are used for the emergency responses when, whether even on the Great Lakes, if the weather allows it, but always on the inland lakes, because we can't move those two larger boats to the inland lakes to do our work, either patrol or for an emergency response.
And that makes perfect sense. So my question is, where would you use the new boat?
So the new boat would stay on a trailer. And it would be the boat that we would primarily do Glen Lake and Lake Leelanau Association with. It's a 19-footer, it's an outrage. Then we'd use the 17-footer to use at Cedar Lake, to use at Little Traverse Lake, Lime Lake, and sometimes do things around marinas, or if the water's calm, we could take it down to the air show. 15 is just out of the question. 17s are a minimum, 19's better. When we have our air patrols, when the Blue Angels are here, we're doing all the fireworks at night. Those boats are out there at night. And that's where, when you put them on the Great Lakes, when you're in those protected harbors, you can use them there to augment the ones we already have stationed in Great Lakes.
So this one would go on the trailer.
This would be on a trailer.
And the one, the 17-foot that's on the trailer.
It will stay on a trailer. We have two boats
So you have two on the trailer.
Correct.
Two in the water.
and two in the Great Lakes, yes.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yep.
Okay,
And just-
now, my other question is, I don't know boats. Let me just preface it with that.
And let me share one other detail about boats in general and the importance of the 17 to 19-foot size that the sheriff has been talking about. These boats are big enough to be stable on a windy day and Big Glen Lake, where you easily get 3 to 4 footers on a windy day. They're big enough to be stable, but they're still small enough that one deputy can launch and load the boat from a DNR ramp. The average boat that you see out on those lakes pulling water skiers are going to be 18 to 21 foot. This falls right into that range. But again, it's something that a single-handed deputy like myself yesterday, responding to a boat adrift in Lake Leelanau, I can go and launch this. I can go and do what I need to do and not have to wait for another set of hands to come and help me do that.
I appreciate that, but I'm not questioning how
Okay,
you use it. I assume, not I assume, I know that you will be using it according to what your needs are.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's not my area, so, but thank you for adding to it. The question I do have is just one curiosity. Not knowing boats, you know cars. Usually cars, you lose a huge amount of value in the first couple of years.
Mhm.
And I noticed your 2023 Boston Whaler, the amount was 83,494. And this one, which is a 2019, is 63.
I know,
Do they all hold their value like this in the boating world?
Boston whalers do.
They do.
High-quality boats. With this boat is a bit of an anomaly. I mean, I'm on those websites too, I was working, and he says, look what I just found. And we're like, hurry up, call the guy, right? Hurry up, see if it's sold. Can you kind of finagle them down? We finagle them down a lot, actually. We sat in a room going 65. We were doing that stuff. And basically what we're doing with that is that's one that some rich guy had. It was in heated storage. The place is selling it sort of for him. And he said, guy put like 8 hours a year on it. So I mean, literally, it's just rich old guy, or somebody died, or somebody just got rid of it, but it's not gonna be there long. That's why we kind of hurried up and met with chairman and with the administrator.
Yeah, I didn't know if they held their value, if it's because it had a lot of bells and whistles.
It's just a really nice boat that holds its value. And one other thing, when we sell that 15-footer, I said that I believe we get 10 to 15. Yamaha now orders a law enforcement discount of 25% for law enforcement and military. Now, we have to wait like 5 to 6 months to get it rather than get it off the shelf, but we are willing to do that. If we got that new motor, it has to be, rewired back, new cables and things. We'd get 115 horse motor. It would be Yamaha, and it would be the one that can kind of idle. You don't have to run it wide open all the time. The cabling and the labor, parts, everything, it's gonna be about 1,500 in parts, and he has 1,000 labor because that's such an old boat. He got to rewire and do things. That whole boat package motor might be 13. If this boat sells for more, then that could go back to the county. I mean, I don't know what it'd sell for. Maybe we can start out by asking, 19, and if someone offers us 17, then put the money back in the county, something like that.
Thank you, you mentioned that.
So I fully agree that Boston Whaler would be the boat I go with. It's got a very stable hull and, so, and yes, I think that's a double core hull, full.
Yep.
That's where you could slot it too. So you've got, I don't know how you ever got a 15-foot boat. That seemed like it.
I think honestly, at the time,
Practical.
Commissioner, at the time, they had X amount of money to buy with, and they went out and bought what they could afford.
Okay.
And it just, what he's concerned about, I'm concerned about when there's one deputy on the boat, well, now we gotta get another boat, another car, more gas usage. And then the other one is, when there's two deputies on the boat, they can, the seat for both of them to share is about that wide. So one's got like half a cheek on and nothing to hold on to if they're in waves.
I'm not arguing, I just.
Yeah, yeah.
It seemed like an impractical purchase to
Yeah,
begin with.
right.
But it's only 12 years old, so could you take the power off of that and put it on the 17 footer and sell the other one?
We could, but what's the horsepower? I don't think it's enough for that.
The bigger the boat, the more horsepower that's
Yeah.
allowed, but also what you need to move it. There's a minimum. On that 15-foot boat, the maximum horsepower, which is on it, is a 60 horse motor. The 17-foot is rated for 115 horse. A 60 horse would probably not even get it up on plane.
Okay, track that question.
I think we have to, before we make a motion, make sure that if the tractor, we were selling motor, I think the money's supposed to go in motor pool. And we have to, I think as a board, we can prove where it stays with the department, so they can buy the motor. So we gotta make sure, I talked to Chet mentioned that to me the other day. We gotta prove, maybe a separate motion that sale that boat, that money stays with you.
First motion would be on the purchase, and the second motion will be on the sale.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion for the boat purchase?
Do we have a motion, Jen?
I don't have one recorded.
Okay, so I recommend we allow the sheriff to purchase the 19-foot Boston trailer.
Yes.
Was it trailer? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Be allowed to purchase, and the funds,
You want to give me the amount?
$63,500. Funds to come from, that's where we have to fill that.
To be determined?
To be choose, yeah.
Read the motion you have.
Yeah, I made it pretty simple. I'll add to the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners, but it's motion by Lautner to allow the sheriff to purchase the 19-foot, we didn't put what kind,
Boston Whaler outrage.
190 outrage.
I can add all that to it. Boston Whaler with trailer
Which one?
for 63.5, funds to be determined, seconded by Elvire.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Second
Thank you.
motion, Mr. Robbins.
Make a motion that funds for the sale of the 15-footer remains with the sheriff department to the for the motor. Go on that 17-footer.
Quick
This
motion.
motion really also has to be allowed the sheriff to sell the boat.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that,
Yeah,
to authorize the
sorry. Yeah,
sale of the
authorize the sale.
15-foot.
Boston Whaler.
It's also a Boston Whaler.
So we're authorizing the sale of the 15-foot Boston Whaler and allowing the sheriff to retain the proceeds from that sale for the purpose of purchasing a motor for the 17-foot. Is that also?
That's
Boston
correct.
Whaler?
And if we can sell that, like say it takes
So
13,000 for a new motor.
let's get through the
Oh, okay,
motion.
sure. Yep, yep.
Okay.
We have a second for Deb's motion.
Yeah, I had rushed him.
Yeah, he made that motion. I was clarifying the motion and I did second the motion.
So we have a motion and we have a second.
Yes.
Any questions? Would you read the motion, please?
Yep, I just have quick notes. Motion by Robbins to sell the 15-foot Boston Whaler and purchase a motor for the I don't think I have that right, 17-foot boat. All sale proceeds to stay within the Marine Division. Does that sound good?
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Go make
You
the
may
phone
go
call.
call your,
Yeah,
Very,
make the phone
very
call.
stress relief. And if we can get more for that, then we could pay for the decals on the side, the blue lights that go on the new boat. So let's say we could sell it for 19,000. We needed 3,000 for the lights, radio stuff. Well, then whatever's left over could go back in the general motor pool. Thank you so much for your support. I
Thank you very
appreciate it. And we'll keep doing a good job we're trying to do.
I know you got the number on your cell phone, so you can.
We're gonna make that call right now.
Well, let us know.
So then, and then how do we, maybe this is a question for Jen. So if we call them, said, okay, we want the boat, what's the next step we do?
The next step would be is if they need a check for Friday,
Okay,
if they need it to hold it.
okay,
I don't know if they want to take a payment from you. I mean, you are the county, you could always hold it with a credit card if you needed to in this situation, and then just to hold it. And that would be something that you would work with Darcy with,
Okay.
to hold it. And then Friday you could send that check and expedite it for $26 and mail it to them.
great. The only negative thing with the whole thing is we gotta go to Manitowoc, Wisconsin and pick it up. But hey, it's not Seattle, it's not LA. I mean, it's right around the lake, but at least it's there and the price is certainly right. So thank you very much for your support. Yes,
On your big boat,
yes,
found maybe a new way of purchasing a new boat or getting a new boat.
okay,
We have 8 kayaks. And if we take plywood and tie them all together, we'll have like 30 footers. There's your boat.
we got some options there. Good, thanks. Thank you.
We are now at public comment. I'm going to cut Mr. Robbins off.
I would love a road trip. I'll go to July.
Yes, and by the way, I believe the two of you are gonna go with us in mid-August.
Yes.
So I've got 2 days picked, Thursday, the 18th, Friday, the 19th, in case the weather's ugly. That boat only, the one I lean only has 2 seats in it. And they have what they call a quarter seat, which is about half the size of this. You put one cheek on. So we're gonna try to look at the weather so it's decent. Right now, there's 7 of us scheduled to go out and be the chief park ranger, me, the commander, the 2 of you, and
Probably.
Chet.
Yeah.
Chet
Chet
figured
was-
there because he buys lunch.
Yeah.
Wanted to Chet. But anyway, it looks like 7. The park asked if they could bring 2. And right now we said, I think we have 7 on boat. We basically have 2 seats. So we will not take you out in horrific weather, but I will tell you, it's not a Great Lakes class boat. So we're gonna do what we can safety wise.
And it is not a Boston whaler. So-
Yes.
Do we have any commissioner comments?
Part of the sales. This is part of the sales pitch to get a bigger boat.
All right, thank you.
Okay.